మణిపూర్లో మంటలు చెలరేగుతున్న వార్త ఈరోజు సంచలనంగా మారింది. సుప్రీంకోర్టు ప్రధాన న్యాయమూర్తి గారు ఏం మాట్లాడారు, అసలు ఈరోజు వాదనలు ఏం జరిగాయి, డైరెక్ట్ లైవ్ పెట్టాను. ఈ ఛానల్ సత్యాన్ని తెలియజేయడానికి మాత్రమే పెట్టబడింది. దయచేసి ప్రతి ఒక్కరూ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేసుకోండి, లైక్ చేయండి, ప్రతి ఒక్కరూ ఈ లింక్ని స్టేటస్లో పెట్టండి, అనేక మందికి షేర్ చేయండి. సరేనా? ప్రైజ్ ది లార్డ్.
Find from your statement which you have given us that there would be about 42 SITs. That last page 3 of page 5. There will be about 42 SITs which will be looking after cases which have not been transferred to the CBI. What we would like to do is this, that for instance you have said, for just an example, you have said matters related to murder or any other heinous crimes, the SIT will be composed of 2 inspectors, 6 sub-inspectors and 12 constables. Likewise, headed by the not below the rank of SP. Now, for these SITs, what we would like to do is that where the inspectors are going to be brought in, every SIT will be monitored by an inspector level officer. What we are proposing to do is, from the very stage where we are bringing in officers to the CBI, we will ensure that the SIT will have at least one inspector which is drawn from any other.
ప్రైజ్ ద లార్డ్. అందరికీ దేవుని ప్రేమతో వందనాలు. ఈరోజు సుప్రీంకోర్టులో ఏం జరిగిందో పూర్తిగా లైవ్ వీడియో పెట్టాను. లాస్ట్ వరకు చూడండి. చివరి వరకు చూసినట్లయితే మీకు ఏం జరిగిందో అర్థమవుతుంది. వాదోపవాదనలు బాగా జరిగాయి. డీజీపీ గారు వచ్చారు, తల ఉంచుకొని నిలబడ్డారు. ఇంకా చాలా చాలా అనేక విషయాలన్నీ చెప్పలేము. వీలైనంత వరకు ఇంగ్లీషు అర్థం కాని వారి కోసం కొంచెం తెలుగు మాటలు చెప్తాను. మీరైతే మాత్రం లాస్ట్ వరకు కూడా చూడండి, మిస్ అవ్వద్దు. ఓకే? ప్రైజ్ ద లార్డ్. అందరూ దీన్ని ఈ స్టేటస్లో పెట్టండి, లింకుని అనేక మందికి షేర్ చేయండి. అసలు ఏం జరుగుతుంది మన దేశంలో, అసలు క్రైస్తవుల పక్షాన ఏం జరుగుతుందని తెలియాలి కదా. ఇప్పటి వరకు అయితే సుప్రీంకోర్టు చీఫ్ జస్టిస్ గారు నిజంగా న్యాయంగా వ్యవహరిస్తున్నారు ఈ విషయం మీద. దాన్ని బట్టి దేవునికి స్తుతులు చెల్లించవచ్చు అందరం కూడా. దేవునికి వందనాలు. లాస్ట్ వరకు మీరు పూర్తిగా చూడండి, మీకు అన్ని విషయాలు అర్థమవుతాయి. మణిపూర్ యొక్క లా అండ్ ఆర్డర్ విషయమై, అలాగే ప్రస్తుతం అక్కడ జరుగుతున్న విషయమైనటువంటి అక్రమాలు మరియు దాడుల విషయమై, స్త్రీల విషయంలో అసభ్యంగా ప్రవర్తించి వారిని రేప్ చేసి అలాగే చంపిన విషయమై, ఇంకా చర్చిలు కాల్బెట్టిన విషయమై, ఇంకా ఇండ్లను కూడా కాల్బెట్టిన విషయమై ఇప్పటి వరకు 7,000 ఎఫ్ఐఆర్లు ఫైల్ చేయబడ్డాయి. ఈ ఎఫ్ఐఆర్లు మొత్తం కూడా సిబిఐ ఎంక్వైరీ నిమిత్తమై వారికి అందజేయాలనే విషయంలో 2 అడ్వకేట్స్ ప్రధాన న్యాయమూర్తి ఎదుట విన్నవించడం జరిగింది. అలాగే వీటన్నిటి నిమిత్తమై కనీసం 2 స్పెషల్ పబ్లిక్ ప్రాసిక్యూటర్స్ అపాయింట్ చేయడం అవసరమని చెప్పారు. సరైన ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ జరుగుతుందా లేదా, అలాగే నేరస్తులు ఎవరు, విక్టమ్ ఎవరు అనే విషయంలో పక్షపాతం లేకుండా ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ జరగటానికి పబ్లిక్ ప్రాసిక్యూటర్ని నియమించడం అవసరం అని చెప్పారు. దానికి మరో గ్రూపు వ్యతిరేకించారు. మరో గ్రూప్ అంటే అలా చేయటం వల్ల సమాధానం దొరకదు అనే వాళ్ళు చెప్తున్నారు. అలా చాలామంది తప్పిపోయిన వాళ్ళని కనిపెట్టాలి, చనిపోయిన వారి డెడ్ బాడీలను గుర్తించాలి అనే విషయంలో చర్య జరగాలి అని రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశారు. ఎందుకంటే ఇంపాల్కి వెళ్ళి ఎవరు చనిపోయారు, ఆ డెడ్ బాడీ ఎవరివి అని గుర్తించడానికి కూడా అధికారులకు ధైర్యం లేదు. మొదటి అడ్వకేట్స్ ఏం చెప్తున్నారు అంటే, ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ జరిగించండి అని వేడుకుంటున్నారు. ఎవరు? క్రైస్తవుల పక్షాన్ని ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో ఆ అడ్వకేట్స్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ జరిగించండి అని వేడుకుంటున్నారు. వారిని వ్యతిరేకించే లాయర్స్ గ్రూప్ ఇంకొకటి ఉందండి. ఈ గ్రూప్ వారు ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ ఆల్రెడీ జరుగుతుంది వేరే వాళ్ళ ద్వారా అని తెలియజేశారు. అధిక ఎఫ్ఐఆర్లు అండ్ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ వల్ల ఎటువంటి ప్రయోజనం లేదు. వీటి గురించి మనం ఆలోచన చేసి మెయిన్ విషయాన్ని మిస్ అవుతున్నాం అని ఒక అడ్వకేట్ అన్నాడు. ఆ విషయం ఏంటంటే, ఈ దాడుల వెనకాల ఉన్నటువంటి 10-20 మంది వ్యక్తులు ఎవరు అనే విషయంలో ఫెయిల్ అయిపోతున్నారు. వారిని పట్టుకొని ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ చేస్తే సమాధానం దొరికే ఛాన్స్ ఉంది. ఒక్క మణిపూర్ అడ్వకేట్ చాలా వినయంతో విన్నయించుకున్నాడు. ఏదో ఒకటి చేసి ఈ భయంకరమైన దాడుల్ని దయచేసి ఆపండి మై లార్డ్, లేకపోతే రానున్న దినాల్లో మణిపూర్లో ఇంకా భయంకరమైన దాడులు చూడాల్సి వస్తుంది. మణిపూర్లో ఏదో ఒక గ్రూప్ మాత్రమే ఇబ్బందులు ఎదుర్కోవటం లేదు. నాగా తెగవారు, కుకీ తెగవారు, మణిపూరి తెగవారు అని అన్ని తెగలవారు ఇబ్బందులు ఎదుర్కొంటున్నారు. ఇది కేవలం ఒక గ్రూప్ ఆఫ్ పీపుల్ జరుగుతున్నటువంటి కుట్రతో కూడిన చర్య. ఏదో ఒకటి చేసి దీనిని ఆపండి అని రిక్వెస్ట్ చేశారు చీఫ్ జస్టిస్ గారికి. అలాగే ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ మాత్రమే కాదు, సమస్యలు ఎదుర్కొంటున్న వారి సేఫ్టీ విషయమై నష్టపోయిన వారికి ఏ విధంగా ఆ నష్టాన్ని పూడ్చాలి, అలాగే వారికి నిత్యావసరాలు ఏ విధంగా అందజేయాలి, వారు పడుతున్న సఫరింగ్ నుండి ఏ విధంగా వారిని రిలీఫ్ చేయాలి అనే విషయాల మీద కూడా తగిన చర్యలు త్వరలోనే తీసుకుంటామని ఆయన తెలియజేస్తున్నారు. దాంతో పాటుగా రెస్టేషన్ ఆఫ్ హోమ్ స్టేట్స్ అలాగే రిలీజియస్ వర్షిప్ సర్వీస్ తిరిగి ప్రారంభించబడటానికి వారు సురక్షితంగా ఉన్నారు అని నిర్ధారించడానికి ఒక కమిటీని, అలాగే సుప్రీంకోర్టు నుంచి అవసరమైన సపోర్ట్ ఉండాలి అని విన్నవించారు ఒక అడ్వకేట్. సిబిఐకి పంపించబడిన 11 ఎఫ్ఐఆర్ల విషయంలో ఖచ్చితమైన ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ చేయడానికి దేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి, అంటే మణిపూర్ స్టేట్ నుంచి కాకుండా ఇతర స్టేట్స్ నుంచి 5 స్పెషల్ ఆఫీసర్స్ని అపాయింట్ చేయడం డీజీపీకి తెలియజేస్తాం అని సుప్రీంకోర్టు వారు చెప్పారు. ఈ 5 మంది స్పెషల్ ఆఫీసర్స్ని సిబిఐ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ చేస్తున్నటువంటి ఎఫ్ఐఆర్ విషయమై నలుమూలలా మానిటర్ చేస్తూ సరైన ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్ జరుగుతుందా లేదా, సరైనటువంటి శ్రద్ధ సిబిఐ తీసుకుంటుందా లేదా అనే విషయంలో వారు కనిపెట్టి ఉండాలి. ఇవన్నీ జరిగేలా చేస్తారని సిజేఐ గారు తెలియజేశారు. సుప్రీంకోర్టు ప్రధాన న్యాయమూర్తి గారు ఖచ్చితంగా ఈ ఇన్వెస్టిగేషన్స్, ఈ ఎంక్వైరీస్ అన్నీ నీట్గా చేయాలి, ఇబ్బందుల్లో ఉన్న వాళ్ళందరికీ కూడా వాళ్ళని ఆదుకునే ప్రయత్నం చేయాలి, అన్ని విధాలా మేము సహాయ సహకారాలు అందిస్తామని సుప్రీంకోర్టు జడ్జి గారు డైరెక్ట్గా చెప్పారు. ఒక స్పెషల్ కమిటీని నియమించారు. ఈ కమిటీ ఎలాంటిదంటే 5 ఐపీఎస్లకి, అంటే ఎస్పీ ర్యాంక్ కంటే ఈక్వల్గా, దానికంటే తగ్గకుండా ఎస్పీ కంటే పైబడి ఆర్ ఈక్వల్గా ఉండే 5 నియమించడం జరిగింది దీంట్లో. ఓకే, సో అందరం కూడా మనమంతా కూడా ప్రార్థిద్దాం, వీళ్ళందరికీ కూడా న్యాయం జరిగేలాగున, దేవుడే కార్యం చేసేలాగున మీ అనుదిన ప్రార్థనలో మీరు జ్ఞాపకం చేసుకోండి. ఈ వీడియోని అనేక మందికి షేర్ చేయండి, ఆ లింకుని స్టేటస్లో పెట్టండి. ఓకే, ప్రైజ్ ది లార్డ్.
Your Lordship said if it is numbered, we'll take it up. If it be numbered, then petition A0.
What is that about? Is it connected to this or?
Of the royal lineal, I will show that later. I am just informing that that petition has been.
Anyway, you are here. Whether we can.
Have a tabulated statement.
Let's have a look at it.
In terms of your Lordship's order, present point of time, the disaggregation about the offences. Paragraph 4 of the order. But as of today, I think we still need to be very, very careful about the government is actually concerned about handling it at a very, very mature level and concerned level. But of course, beyond that, there are certain factors working there, which probably makes it not so easy to bring it under immediate control or a reasonable modicum of supervision. So that I think it's important that we keep that in mind. In any persuasion towards any further direction, probably we'll also keep that in mind. So I must say that the investigation process, which is to a limited extent
comments.
Not yet.
Notice. That note has to be given to the court. I have a court. On any particular aspect of identity. There's a small suggestion I thought kindly hand it over. The Lordship I say will keep in mind that every attempt is being phase 3 of this note Lordship will do.
Oh, actually,
before I read phase 3.
Why don't you look at quickly first 2 pages so that we have a quick bird's eye view?
I know. I thought
Just go
this
to
lack
page
of-
1 and
that's
2.
a broad answer.
Sure.
Before
You don't want us to read page 1 and 2 right now?
I'll come back to them.
All right.
But it's just get a recapitulation of the other figures given in the tabular state.
Right. Those figures you've already given us.
That's more or less. It's just a small overlapping there, but I thought phase 3 is a set of suggestions. But before you Lordships read that phase 3, may just make the submission.
Yes.
Probably.
Quickly, let's read through it. It's just 1 page so that then we can hear you. Let's quickly
Very
read through
well.
it.
Lordship. Very well. There are several districts, and then each
You want
district.
it out aloud? वो upload कर दो नहीं. Why don't you give a copy to our library team so everybody can, all the other council can also see it. You just upload it so that all of them can see it on your
Yes.
desktops.
Yes. For the following types of SATs are proposed to be constituted.
We have page 3 अपलोड कर दो. Page 3 upload कर दो.
Page 3. Broadly, on the basis of the analysis of the FIRs and the nature of the offences concerned, the districts have been taken into account, and for various districts, and this is how the district configuration. So, in case of murders, etc., there will be at the rank of an SP, and they will include inspectors, constables. In case of the second item, in case of other sexual offences, it will be fully comprising of female investigating officers. And then in respect of other offences, we have a different set of SITs. That's right. SP, DYSP, and they'll all work under the direct supervision of the DIG and IG and ADG as the case may be. And just see this, for the districts of Chochanpur, Kanpur, Imphal West, Imphal East, Bishpur and Kanchin, there will be 6 SITs in each district with their composition. The reason is that they must be manageable in respect of investigation and an expedition in respect of investigation. And for the other 2 districts, there will be 3 SITs with above composition. These SITs will be supervised weekly by an officer of the rank of DIG, IG, and AG. In addition, the DGP will also monitor the cases fortnightly. So it has been a studied analysis, and this is how the suggestion has come. So keeping in mind every possible detractions in the peace descending in the state being made for a variety of reasons by all kinds of persons involved in it. The court not getting into it, but keeping it in mind that today the position is still very tense, and a small figure somewhere may push it in some other direction, it will be difficult to handle later. Therefore, instead of having any externally directed investigation team and SITs at the state level, one, does it inspire confidence? Does it bring restored peace? And we have a quick interim investigation report from these SITs in 2-3 weeks' time, and take stock of it and thereafter, and proceed to monitor it in such way the Lordships will be more comfortable as far as the state is concerned. The element of independence of investigation on the one hand, and on the other hand, that no external factors take stock of or use the current situation to taking it beyond manageable limits. These two factors probably will be kept in mind. And the CBI has already gone into investigation, and they are
Now, last time you had said that CBI will be investigating a total of 11 FIRs. Is that number of 11, has that altered now by virtue of the work which you have done over the weekend?
If your lordship sees page 3, unnumbered para 3, for FIRs related to rape, your lordship would find.
Yes.
Page 3, unnumbered para 3.
Yes.
Suppose something is found out during investigation other than 11. 11 will go to CBI, there is no dispute.
Yes.
For FIRs related to rape, outraging the modesty and such other sexual offences, the SITs are proposed to be headed by an officer not below the rank of SP, and such SITs will also include the following. Then, my lord, all are lady of. In case something is found out, so far it has not emerged, but during the investigation also, your lordship knows, but some offences do surface. So first, SIT would be headed by SPs, second also SP, third SIT, DYSP, weekly monitoring by DIGs, IGs or additional DG, and fortnightly monitoring by DG himself.
Yes.
That's the plot.
అవుటర్ రింగ్ రోడ్ దగ్గర ఉన్నాము. బ్రిడ్జి ఉంది. పైకి ఎక్కారా? టోల్ గేట్లో స్లిప్ తీసుకున్నారా? సరే, కొద్దిగా మెల్లగా పోతున్నాడు, మిమ్మల్ని క్రాస్ చేస్తాం. మరి మేము ఇక్కడే ఆగి మీరు చూడలేదేమో. సరే సరే.
I must bring to your lordship's notice that the CBI official is also here. The CBI team, which is going to investigate, which will be investigating this 11 plus possibly one. Mr. Joydeep Gupta indicated one more.
One more last time we had mentioned.
I'll get all the information. So that has 2 lady SP level officers. But they are ladies considering the nature of the offense. And your lordship knows, CBI has officers from all across the country from various states. So that we have taken that balance.
Any suggestion from your side here so that then we can put to you? Mr. Attorney, you wanted to add something?
as we try to understand the ground situation, very positive and neutral point of view. All of us are concerned about restoration not only of peace, but ensure that everybody there understands that every condition of a peace must be unconditionally met. And if there are forces or thought processes that probably try to weaken that, that should also be kept in mind so that any small deviation sometimes you make a world of difference. I find before the hearing something takes place and somebody tries to create an impression. All that.
Yes, Miss, who would like to go first?
Only on the FIRs, if I may respond to the SIT and the small on the note that has just been shared. Only on that, and then Ms. Jaising will address the board, if I may.
Yes.
Please, Madam. Well, just 2-3 things I want to point out in the note that has just been given. Just to point out some concerns which they can address. On the aspect of the SIT, we will speak later. The reason why there is a concern about the nature of investigation. Yes, some of it is now being transferred to the CBI, or at least 11 +1 cases may be transferred to the CBI, depending on what the court directs. If my lords would see, there are in their own description at serial number 5.
Where, Ms. Grover?
This is there are 2 reports, that status reports.
This one?
The longer one, which has the case status reports, where the redacted names. My lords,
The earlier one. The earlier one. This one. This one, no, Mr. Attorney?
Contains how many pages? Easy to identify.
We don't have.
Actually, it over just now.
We don't.
Can I see this?
Solicitor, what are you sharing in secret with them which you're not showing us?
No, we have not given this.
Just now.
One second, let the solicitor be. Of course, yeah, that's why we are here.
My lord, let us be heard also, my lord.
Rest assured.
Regardless, it has all the names redacted. It's the same status report of cases that was given last time, but all the names have now been redacted by the state. What I would point out are 2-3 things. All the FIRs, because the incidents that are listed here, there are many more incidents, are all falling within Imphal. The police station is Imphal, the district is Imphal as per their own chart. The court would have to then also look not just as to whether the SIT that the state is proposing, but where would the investigation be? Who will this SIT? Usually, if it is Imphal, the SP will have to be of the area. A lot of the victims, in fact, all of the victims, are no longer residing in Imphal. They are in camps in Churachandpur or other districts. Who will be the jurisdictional magistrate? Which SP of which jurisdiction? Those are matters which are tied to the Code of Criminal Procedure and would require specific directions of this court. That was one thing. My lords would then see, for instance, at serial number 5, where it talks about 2 women. This is on page 5. My lords,
Yes.
please, my lords. My lords, A and B, there are 2 women, and in fact, in the description, they say that they were beaten and left lying on the road, believing to be dead, but was later on rushed to ICU. Similar narrative at B. And my lords would come to the brief of the investigation.
So, what are you driving at? I mean, tell us that.
Manner in which this investigations have been done. These cases may be transferred, but there are multiple other incidents. The injury reported is simple in nature. Would a person who has simple injury
You got the point.
take
Yes, you
fight?
got the point.
Just for the purposes of reiterating the point mentioned earlier, that why reports are not saying whether the specific provision of rape during communal or sectarian violence has been added or not in 376G. No, there is not a whisper about that. My lords, the rest we will address.
That we'll take care of in our order.
Please, my lords, I'm going to. My lords, there is also no FIR under section 166A of the Indian Penal Code, which means accountability when they don't take action. And unless that system of accountability which the law mandates is brought in, these repeats happen in different parts of the country to the relevant for everyone. In an earlier court in Mohammadabad, this court had allowed that even where 164s had been recorded, if the women feel that they were not able to speak with sufficient clarity and courage, they could be taken again for recording of the statements again. Essentially not state essence. Will that inspire confidence?
Yes, yes.
Wait, please, my lord. My lord, I will very briefly address you, but I'll stick to the written submission which has been filed.
Just why don't you formulate it in a minute? Just tell us what the point.
Copy of that written submission, I'll stick to that. just elaborate where necessary. My Lord, it addresses two aspects of the matter. One is investigation, and the other is prevention. My Lord, please bear in mind that the conflict is ongoing. Without giving it labels, we all know that the conflict over there is ongoing. So, my Lord, my concern is twofold. One is proper investigation of crimes which have already occurred, and the second is prevention of further crime. Now, my Lord, this court has dealt with both these matters earlier, and I'll point out how the prevention aspect has been dealt with by this court from a reported judgment, my Lord. Let me first finish, my Lord, what I had reiterated, what I had mentioned earlier. We, my Lord, are recommending, and I'm reading from a joint submission made by me, Ms. Grover, Mr. Nizam Pasha, and Ms. Shova. It's a common presentation. Lord, you would be good enough to just have a look at it. It'll save a lot of time. Would your Lordship like extra copies? I think you have some.
Nizam, just give them to you.
Yeah, extra copies.
We've got it. Yes.
Obliged. My Lord, basically to reiterate, it's a two-pronged, or rather three-pronged approach. One is, my Lord, a High Power Commission which will report to this honorable court. And what I mean by that is, my Lord, your Lordships have already held in various cases that a commission appointed by this court, whether consisting of retired female judges of the court or otherwise, are really in the nature of eyes and ears of the court, my Lord. That commission, my Lord, is really in the nature of a preliminary fact-finding to be presented to the court. So, my Lord, that's the first one. Your Lordship may ignore the name. You can give it any name you like. And what is the mandate of that commission? The nature and extent of violence against women, particularly sex, that has occurred in the state of Manipur on and from, you know, just correct this into 3rd May, because in the empire, there's an incident of 3rd May. So, my Lord, the violence has started on 3rd and not the 4th. 3rd May, from all available sources, my Lord, this is important, all available sources, including Empire's Lodge, media reports, personal meetings with the survivors, and with family members of the survivors, local community leaders, social activists, authorities running relief camps where the survivors are located, and any other available source. To evaluate and report to this honorable court the felt needs of the survivors, including measures for dealing with rape trauma, social and psychological support, relief and rehabilitation in a time-bound manner. To suggest the composition of the committee, we suggest that it include retired women judges of this honorable court or the High Court and members of civil society who are women with a track record of having worked on sexual violence in situations of ethnic and sectarian conflict and knowledge of dealing with trauma of rape survivors. Lord, I have not put down any names because last time your Lordship indicated that you're not very well aware of who these people should be. The Commission to evolve its own procedure for hearing and recording of statements of the victim survivors as deemed necessary in a gender-sensitive and gender-just manner. My Lord, obviously these statements, my Lord, may or may not be on oath. I don't think commissions have been empowered to record evidence on oath. Kindly make a note of that. Now, my Lord, then we come to the second modality, a court-appointed, monitored SIT to conduct a time-bound investigation. The terms, my Lord, these are all taken from reported judgments. Constitution appointment of this by this court of the SIT to investigate all instances. My Lord, your Lordship may just add the word unnatural death and murder over there, and violence against women, referred to as VOW internationally, including sexual violence since 3rd May 2023 and ongoing. Then, my Lord, the SIT to comprise of senior police officers, including women police officers, with an unblemished record drawn from outside the state of Manipur. C, the investigation to be court monitored through the filing of regular status reports. My learned friend, if I'm not mistaken, has agreed to this on the previous occasion. The SIT to register FIRs and investigate all instances relating to unnatural death, murder, violence against women, particularly sexual violence, under all relevant sections of law, including but not limited to Section 376(2)G
that's sectarian violence. 376D, that's gang rape. 3 of the SC/ST Act. Then, my lord, E, State of Manipur and central government should extend full cooperation. Lord, it's a standard term of any order. Then, my lord, F, all victim survivors or victims' families be provided regular updates. My lord, little bit of emphasis over here. They have a right to know. Under the amended Civil Procedure Code, my lord, victims have a right to know the status of their cases. Now, my lord, registration, of course, SIT to ensure registration of FIRs, whether they are lodged or not, where complaints are filed under 156(3) of CRPC, Section 5(3) of the SC/ST Act, where women victims may have left Manipur on account of violence, direction to file 0 FIRs for instance of murder and violence, particularly sexual violence committed in the state of Manipur, since 3rd May, regardless of the state, union, territory in which the victim, survivor, or informant complainant is presently residing. SIT to register FIRs under 160. Now, my lord, a word about 161A. During, my lord, the Nirbhaya incident, it was found out that police officers are not doing their duty. Therefore, by a 2012 amendment to the Indian Penal Code, Section 166A was introduced, which makes it a cognizable offense for a police officer not to perform his or her duty. All we are asking for, my lord, is this be invoked. Recording a statement of 164, now, my lord, this is a very delicate process. I mentioned on the previous occasion, they don't like repeating their story again and again. Requisite member of judicial magistrates, lady magistrates, as far as possible, to be assigned to record statements of victims of sexual violence under 164 CRPC at relief camps, shelters where the victims are taking refuge, residing, irrespective of territorial jurisdiction, to enable recording of statements. Victim survivors who have left Manipur due to the ongoing violence are presently located outside the state. Their statements to be recorded by local judicial magistrate. The use of live links, below this, I'm sorry, this has been amended, below. If your lordship just looks at the footnote, there is a judgment of this court. Just give me the reference. This is your copy. Yes, my lord. I just want to point reference to a judgment of this court which enables recording of evidence by video, regardless of where. My lord, the judgment is reported 2003, Volume 4, SCC, page 601. It is, my lord, the only judgment of this court. But it was a case arising from Bombay where Dr. 2003, SCC, Volume 4, SCC, page 601, para 26 and page 617. Yes. Lord, this is a case which arose from Bombay where a person abroad was sought to be examined on oath.
In this case. But judgment के पहले दिखा दो.
It is displayed on the screen, my lord. Para 26.
Para 1 देख लो जरा.
Yeah, my lord. The controversy here is whether a video recording constitutes evidence within the meaning of the Indian Evidence Act and whether it's permissible. Have the citation. Lord, your lordship has had a look at that judgment.
We have seen that, yes. Dr. Desai judge.
Request nothing more than the difference, of course, between giving us a live link and giving a witness a video.
All right, what we'll do is
very well.
Ms. Jaising, what we'll do is this. Anybody else wants to say a few, add something?
Just a minute. I would permit me, otherwise your lordship can read.
Now, we've heard everybody very substantially. I think we now need to just judge.
But just madam, 1 minute.
Just a minute now for anybody else,
One of the
including you also. Don't worry, I've got it in my mind.
only one answer for this.
My Lord, I just want to, if your Lordship has gone through it, I won't
We've
try.
gone through it, yeah.
Just 1 second of some moment, my Lord. It's an issue of some moment. My Lord, this question arose in the context of lynchings which were taking place all over the country. And my Lord, this court provided my Lord, in a judgment reported in 2018, 9 SCC, page 501. My Lord, if your Lordship will just have one glance at that judgment, it's rather important because this court has dealt with these issues before. Similar issues, I won't say these issues, my Lord. At 2018, 9 SCC 501, it was in the context of lynchings that were happening all over the country, and this court was called upon to put into place preventive measures. Your Lordship will turn to page 525 under the heading preventive measures. Yes. My Lord, there is a rather lengthy procedure put in place. The sum and substance of it is the state government is directed to designate police officers not below the rank of superintendent police as nodal officers. In each district, such nodal officers shall be assisted by one of the DSP rank officers in the district for taking measures to prevent instance of mob violence. Now, my Lord, last time your Lordship raised the question, if they can't go to court, where do they go? They go to the mob. So the point is how to prevent mob violence. And the court puts in place a system which is intended to prevent mob violence from taking place in the future. Well, Lord, basically, it's a system of very intense monitoring by the state where every district in the country, my Lord, has been directed to put in place nodal officers who will provide periodic status reports to the, of course, the executive of the state. And my Lord, this system, the learned judges put this in place. Then your Lordship turns to punitive measures at page 527, which is, of course, my Lord, investigation, etc. So the nature of these measures is, and then remedial measures at page 527. The nature of these three measures is different, my Lord: preventive, punitive, and remedial. And my Lord, I, with all the emphasis at my command, and your Lordship may kindly note that while exercising these powers, this court drew attention, my Lord, to the provisions of the Constitution of India and the duty of the states and the centre under the relevant articles, my Lord, which are mentioned in the judgment itself. My Lord, it's under the chapter of administrative relations, Article 256 and 257 of the Constitution of India, both of which articles have been referred to in this judgment. May I, my Lord, read? Under the heading administrative...
That's already
Yes.
that.
But also, what I'm requesting, my Lord, is for directions. It is actually the state which issues the directions. The centre issues directions to the states, putting in place a system of measures which will enable enforcement of law and order. I will not read the judgment, my Lord. The judgment speaks for itself. It's very, very clear that these are the powers which are conferred on the centre and the state, and particularly the centre. My Lord, your Lordship knows the centre is before you, in fact, my Lord. Attorney General is here. So there is an obligation cast on the centre also, my Lord, to ensure that states enforce law and order in relation to laws enacted by the centre. Parliamentary laws, my Lord, there's an obligation on all states to implement parliamentary laws in true spirit. And in order to enable that...
All right, anything else, Ms. Jaising now? Thank you, Ms. Jaising. Anything else? I hope, Ms. Jaising, you're done.
Well, one more thing which is not mentioned here, the question of dead bodies. Your Lordship is aware.
I saw that, yes.
Yes, Your Lordship is aware that they have to be returned.
So we are actually getting
It's possible the dead bodies will shift. Between the state and the persons concerned who would like to retrieve the dead bodies, there are too many interventions. It is not that the person do not want the dead bodies back. There are interventions which prevent them from taking the dead bodies. So it's easy to say something here. Very difficult to handle the situation there. And artificially create situations are being portrayed as if that there is reluctance on the part of the government not to do anything. It's a very complicated situation.
The Lordship would find one more better, Lord, before, a day before the matter is to be heard, or something big happens. Maybe a coincidence, I wish that's a coincidence.
My Lord, the only reason for bringing it to my Lord's attention is actually to tell the state that this particular lady is a widowed mother. I would like my son's body to be returned. She does not know.
So give a name to me, it would be ensured. The PG is here.
No, the situation is not dire. That the state has to fix that.
But we have the DG tells me.
Lordship, may I?
The DG tells me that we have nodal officers for collection of dead bodies. I'll give the number of concerned nodal officer to you. Please pass it on. If there is any difficulty, we are there to help. That's all.
Lordship, in terms.
This is the accountability. It is also not directed to division of information. This court has action in the Lata Kumari case. After that case, the center has advisory. It is in place on page number 61 of my petitions to all the states, all the union territories, that FIR shall be registered in compliance of the court's order given in the Lalta Kumari case, state of UP. But despite of those judgments, those directions, still in profession also we are seeing these kind of cases which are very regular. But in their SIT formation, whatever report they have submitted, they have not said even a single word that whether those directions, any advisory they have issued, if they have not followed those advisory, what action they have taken, center has taken against the state or what sort of thing. And as my first prayer concerns is appointment of a committee which shall be headed by the retired honorable justice of this court. I would only like to suggest 4 points. This committee shall inquire the ongoing violences and present situation of law and order in Manipur, the lapses made by the state police like non-registration of FIR, no prompt investigation and action against the actual perpetrators, not getting the statements recorded under section 164 CRPC of victims and witnesses in the heinous crimes like rape, murder, abduction, grievous bodily injury. Third point is the position of rehabilitation camps and the security, safety, medical aid, compensation to the victims, legal aid provided to the state citizens victims of heinous offences and other offences. For this to also inquire about the state and center role that whether the government took the sufficient or bided itself from not taking the measures which it should have taken in the interest of public. And last one is the suggestions for dealing such situation in future by the state governments and central. So, my lord, the police department is the #1 department which flouts the orders and directions of this group. We are seeing this in several occasions, either for the registration of FIR, arresting without following the procedure, whatever. So these measures, my lordship may consider.
All right, yes, Mr. Pasha. With my Lord's permission. My Lord, this updated list
for all, Lord, Mr. Pasha.
Updated list has been handed over by the state. So the FIR, my Lord asked what is the number. It's not 11, it's 16 now under this list. We had given a list of 6 additional FIRs for the solicitor's office, of which 5 have been included here. But 1 has been left out, I believe, inadvertently because it had the same number as one of the other FIRs. So
This was the list given by him, I'm told. Thereafter, we have ascertained, and it comes to 11. But if it...
No, Lordship, this is what they have just handed over.
Where is it? Okay.
Along with the status.
So once please sponsor.
This is a list of 16.
Please
Which the first 11 are those FIRs which had been given on the previous occasion. Yes. Number 12 onwards are
12, 13, 14, 15, 16 are 5 of the 6 FIRs that I had handed over to the Office of the Learned Solicitor. 17, the last one, it appears has inadvertently been missed out because that also had FIR number 07. So it might have been confused as if it was a repetition with 16. So that's a separate FIR. I'd given a copy, I can give another copy to the Learned Solicitor. So now this list...
So there are 16 in all. There are totally 16 FIRs which are to be transferred to CBI.
That's right, Lordship. Which is as per the list which the Learned Solicitor just handed over to us. Lordship, now, besides...
Lord, this is earlier list prepared. We have checked up, there are 11. But if there are more than 10, Lord, then we stand corrected, Lord. But this list is not the final. But this is not reliable.
This is the status which is just handed over by the Learned Solicitor.
Inadvertently giving. This is some old list. Thereafter, we...
In fact, this is updated because it has the names are redacted as per my Lord's direction, and investigation has been updated. So I'm not sure where the confusion lies because the Learned Solicitor's office has just given us an updated list.
No, my office never gives. Your friend gave.
We got it from them. Lordship, we'll just give the copy.
All right, we'll examine.
137 now.
I am for entrepreneur, Meitei International.
Please, I'm still on my leg. Lordship, now, insofar as these 16 are concerned, my Lord will pass whatever direction my Lord will pass for transfer. But insofar as the remaining are concerned, Lordship, the report which has now been given by the SG points out the ranks of officers of the police will be appointed as I mean, they're calling it SIT, but it's a investigating team appointed by the state. Lordship, now, the submissions that we had made was that the allegations are against the state police of acts of omission as well as perpetration of violence, ranging from just omission to active participation and perpetration. Lordship, the concern was of selection, and that concern doesn't get alleviated if there is a selection of officers of the state cadre by the state administration itself to appoint these so-called SIT. So the concern that we raised before my Lord was one of selection and oversight. So how is selection to happen of the SIT officers, my Lord will decide, and how is oversight, which will be very important on and if there's an oversight mechanism of the investigation, so that I understand that 6,500 FIRs can't all be transferred, but if there's an active oversight by either a committee or of retired judges or whatever mechanism my Lord deems fit, I think that will be more relevant for making sure that the investigation is impartial. Lordship, also, and something that we had pointed out and I wish to reiterate is that special public prosecutors will also need to be appointed because the mistrust concerns the state administration and the machinery. Therefore, even the persons who are prosecuting, Lordship knows that in other instances of violence, sometimes the FIR has to be transferred to other states for this purpose, and that's why we had said that states officers drawn from other cadres. Similarly, for public prosecutors, that it may be law officers drawn from outside the state, perhaps, who will prosecute these.
That ensures that trial never ends. What else? We are discussing this.
Lordship, in fact, the nature of, on this side, the nature of concerns that we had raised were that there are active incidents of participation. And Lordship, in fact, I won't read it. Lordship may see item number 10 of this list where status of investigation is given. And Lordship will find out that even and Lordship had last time asked why is there no investigation was the name. Lordship will see item number 10. This is exactly the kind of investigation that must be undertaken, but that's specific because of who the complainant is and who the victim was. So it seems that there is selection even in terms of the progress of investigation in the report, which is clear in the report of the state itself. So Lordship, therefore, these concerns that not just the lack of trust, but also what appears from the record is that there is a selection bias and a progress of speed of progress bias in favor of a certain section of society, and so that's why the concern that Lordship will take care of, that the officers investigating as well as the officers prosecuting may need to be selected by my Lord, drawn perhaps from outside the state and overseen by a committee of oversight appointed by my Lord of retired judges, etc.
Lord, maybe.
Lordship, as far as Lordship, insofar as the question of dead bodies is...
All right, Mr. Yes, what about dead bodies?
Lordship, as far as dead bodies is concerned, Lordship, we have checked. Now the concern is that people who are relatives of missing persons who wish to check these dead bodies do not have the courage to go into Imphal right now. They're scared for their lives, depending on that's the nature of law and order situation in the state at that time. It's a perception issue. It's a perception.
You are afraid of your clients. Don't say that.
It's a perception. They are not going into Imphal right now. That's the nature of. In fact, we had placed details of how people had to be evacuated from Imphal, including officers of CRPF who belong to a certain community.
Not seeing many things,
but that's the concern. So therefore, Lordship, perhaps one suggestion could be that these bodies are transferred to a hill district where an identification process can take place, an en masse transfer.
Please do not create situations beyond your control.
That's exactly it. But your lordships are not aware of
persons
who represents who.
Persons may approach
We are
the state.
aware, we are not seeing that.
Persons who approach the state
have to be responsible.
may be facilitated in terms of an online identification through some kind of video.
In this request, let's upload.
Person who report a missing person who they wish to identify may be facilitated in terms of some kind of online video access to the mortuary.
So
My lords may consider that so that persons who are not able to go may also be able to identify.
Else now?
Just two submissions, Lordship. Two submissions.
I'm sorry.
One
Mr.
second.
Is for whom? I was missing him, Lord. He must be missing out also in this matter, but he need a client at least to speak something.
Organization had approached me. I didn't formally file any.
No, you please file it. We would like to oppose your FIR.
I just wanted to make one major issue there is the looting of thousands of arms and ammunition from the state army. The allegation is that they were allowed to be looted by the state police or the state administration. This is a very, very serious matter because the violence has increased because of these arms and ammunition which were looted from the state army. This is one matter which needs to be investigated by an independent body as to how these arms came to be looted from the state armories, whether the state police or the state administration was complicit or not.
But that is being investigated. Whoever has briefed my learned friend has not fully briefed, and this would definitely not help solve the situation. It's being investigated. Let's not aggravate. No, it's being investigated by somebody else. That's all I want to tell you. That's all.
Yes. There is, my lord, one thing that I've been saying right from the beginning, and I want to focus on one thing and one thing alone very briefly. I get it, my lord, that there are a large number of FIRs, many officers will come in, much investigation will be done, spread out and so on. But I'm only afraid that in the spreading out of these FIRs and these investigations, we may lose sight of a very important point. That is to say that when a riot takes place, if the state is able to identify, like we have done, we have identified and put it on affidavit. If we can identify the core ringleaders of these assaults, and their number may be 10 or 20, but they are well known and we put it on record with what they've said, their Facebook posts, their interviews, everything. The investigation must, some part of the investigation, a core part, one would focus on the 6,000 FIRs or whatever. But the core part must.
Which is passing the highway, huge amount is being my lord. This is a fee we have to pay. And they charges huge fee these groups. Then the common people like me, we have to give extra charges for that. MRP of 10 rupees of biscuit, we have to pay 15 rupees. Because they have paid the protection fees to them. That's what we are suffering. The common people are suffering. The businessmen, they said, no, we cannot lose our profit. Then they have to recover it from the common people. That's what we are facing, my lord. I am submitting, my lord. I am not against anybody, my lord. As a citizen of India, as a human being, I am submitting to the honorable court. What's the ground reality, your lordship? We are all suffering. All the parties, all communities, your lordship. Whether it's Naga, Kuki, Manipuri, Meiteis, or Muslims, anybody. All of them we are suffering, your lordship. So, my lord, with all that, I am just praying to the honorable court, do something, my lord, to stop this killing, to extortions, everything was. Then, once everything has come down, the violence has come down, then we will be again back to square one. We will be human beings again. Then we'll come to we can talk each other, we can discuss each other, we can solve the problem. Otherwise, as long as the violence is going on, as long as the killing is going on, then, my lord, it will happen. And, my lord, regarding the FIRs, your lordship, there are more than 1,000 FIRs, 6,000, my lord. Every day, my lord, as the violence is going on, the number of FIRs will increase. Then what will we do, your lordship, in future? It will be today 6,000, maybe after 1 week, maybe 7,000. After 10 days, 1 month, it will be 10,000, Your Lordship. It will be more pressure to the investigation agency, to the court, everywhere else. So, my Lord,
Yes,
present issue is to stop the balance.
May I please, Your Lordship?
We have an again feeling that there is narrow issue between May and July from news report 4,400 weapons that are both 5 months now sold from different places from the Manipuri in some other places. We have apparently recovered a few. This is not antagonistic to me. We just say one suggestion but we have order of 17th May. Your Lordship said it's not the status of 415. And I am completely with my friend here. If this violence continues, more arms and weapons are stolen and taken away. That gets distributed among all these militia who decide to go at each other. There should be some measures to ensure security of the existing arms and armaments with all these weaponries, either of the police or the armed forces. And second, they could look at that. The SIT could perhaps look at that. And second, whatever steps they can take to recover this. Because 5 lakh rounds of ammunition is a huge number, 4,000 weapons. Some steps regarding that, Your Lordship may include.
I close my thanks, my Lord. Apart from my Lord, arms from the police, my Lord, all other private armed gun officers in More, Shampur, everywhere, my Lord, that people get.
Sir, this is what I'm pointing out. The weaponry, the keys are one with them and one with the government. That's the cost. One key is with them and one key is with them. Now that key, it was a suspension of operation. In that agreement, that all the arms that we have announced are written, two keys. One key is with them, one with them. They open the key. It's now to say not that we can that is so.
One line, my Lord, one line, my Lord.
Only a minute.
So, my Lord, one line submission, my Lord.
Only
the
one
most
thing.
affected
That is
members of the
highest priority is on that. There are reasons why, my Lord, we are not discussing it here. Your Lordships have been told, my Lord, what is the real problem by Mr. Singh also from across the border, etc., etc. Lord, let that be dealt with, my Lord, the way in which it should be dealt with, rather than it
should be to the court, not to me. I don't.
That's my request, because
the notice of the court.
What represents which interest, my Lord? It's not, my Lord,
Everything
reason to go into it.
Motive here.
My government obviously would not like, my Lord,
it's
any
very one-sided narrative, Your Lordship. My learned for recovered weapons.
We have heard you now. Sorry. You can't every time somebody says you can't interrupt.
My Lord, one of the most suffering groups, like the my Lord Scheduled Caste community of Manipur, we already filed one application here. So let it be taken together, twice to safeguard their life and livelihoods, my Lord. It is given number. Already we received the tiny number. So let it be taken up together, my Lord. That is my last submission. In order to safeguard the life and livelihood of those community members, my Lord.
Lordship, may I hand
Mr. Attorney General, we'll of course dictate our order. So this is almost 3:25. We have some other matters. We'll dictate the order in the evening.
No, there's just one thing. I'm just reiterating on behalf of SCORA what I told your Lordship, our unanimous resolution. Any assistance which the court got from lawyers, SCORA will your Lordship may call on SCORA to make a panel to assist in terms of any SIT, if legal assistance, to communicate between the court and so on. For any facilitation, your Lordship may call on SCORA. I just wanted to reiterate.
I just wanted to make a
We've heard everybody now. Mr. Attorney General, what we would do probably, I'm just giving you a broad outline of the ultimate approach of the court. Our effort today is really to use whatever we have within our power to restore a sense of confidence, faith in the rule of law, and to that extent, therefore, build a sense of trust and faith and confidence. Now, what we are planning to do is this. We will constitute at one level a committee of 3 High Court judges, 3 former High Court judges. these High Court judges, this committee of 3 judges we will constitute, will be looking at things apart from the investigation, including relief, remedial measures, rehabilitation, compensation, restoration of homesteads, religious places of worship, so on and so forth. So the remit of the committee will be a broad-based committee, including, of course, visiting the relief camps, looking at the conditions of the relief camps. We'll formulate the directions. We've got suggestions from them. We've heard suggestions from you also. So at one level, we are going to constitute a committee of 3 former judges of the High Court who will be looking into diverse aspects of a humanitarian nature in the current situation. Now, on the investigation, we find now overall, after hearing everyone, there are about 16 FIRs which have to be transferred to the CBI. Maybe 11, maybe 12, maybe 14, maybe 16, whatever. Anyway, whatever it is, yes.
Our part, I do not know. These are live.
These are small things.
They will not join issue.
Yes. Now, what we propose to do is this. You have transferred the investigation to the CBI. We are not going to supplant CBI because you have an investigative agency which is looking after the investigation. At the same time, consistent with our mission to ensure that there is a sense of faith and an overall sense of this being objective and dispassionate. We are not casting any aspersions on CBI at all. Otherwise, we would have transferred it off from CBI. We are not doing that. What we propose to do is at 2 levels. There are, say, about 11 FIRs, as the Solicitor General states. We are proposing to direct that there shall be 5 officers of the rank of at least DY SP, if not SP, who will be brought into the CBI from various states. We are conversant with the fact that a large part of the population in Manipur is conversant with Hindi. Mr. Director General will correct us if we are wrong. So what we would propose to do is that we will ask the Directors General of Police of states where these officers would typically be conversant with the spoken Hindi language. We will have presently 5, we will see how many, in the vicinity of 5 or 6 officers of the rank, at least of DYSP or SP, who will be brought on deputation to the CBI, specifically for the purpose of overseeing the investigation into these FIRs which have been transferred to the CBI. These officers will also be functioning within the 4 corners of the infrastructural and the administrative setup of the CBI. So they may be presently monitored also. They may be supervised by an officer of the level of Joint Director CBI, who is normally a rank of an Inspector General of Police. So we will bring in at least 5 officers from diverse states within the nation into CBI on deputation. We will ask the Directors General of Police of those states to nominate these officers who will come to CBI. They will in turn be functioning within the 4 corners of the administrative setup of CBI. But we are going to add one more. We are going to add one more layer of scrutiny for us. We've already identified the officer. If you would like, I can disclose it to you. There are no secrets here. At the end, I'll tell you who they are. These will be part of the formal order. So we have identified a former IPS officer, very distinguished and a very highly decorated officer who has wide experience in investigation. He will oversee the nature of the investigation. We are not calling it an SIT. We want an additional oversight layer to report back to us. So we will structure the investigation. Now, insofar as the state investigation is concerned, we find from your statement which you have given us that there would be about 42 SITs. That last page 3 of page 5. There will be about 42 SITs which will be looking after cases which have not been transferred to the CBI. What we would like to do is this, that for instance you have said, for just an example, you have said matters related to murder or any other heinous crimes The SIT will be composed of 2 inspectors, 6 sub-inspectors, and 12 constables. Likewise, headed by the not below the rank of SP. Now, for these SITs, what we would like to do is that where the inspectors are going to be brought in, every SIT will be monitored by an inspector level officer. What we are proposing to do is, from the very stage where we are bringing in officers to the CBI, we will ensure that the SIT will have at least one inspector, which is drawn from any of the other states. Those DGPs will nominate them, and these people will be brought in deputation by the Union Ministry of Home Affairs to Manipur Police, so that they will be part of that. They will be part of the SIT. There is an additional level of somebody from outside also who will come. And since each of the SITs are proposed to be headed by an officer not below the rank of SP, we will also propose that initially we were thinking of directing that these SITs will be subject to the supervision of an officer brought from one of those states on deputation. Now,
petition 526 of 23, and some intervention applications are there in some other applications also. There are so many cases now. Henry. You are from? You didn't say your good name. Yes. Huh? Mallikarjun. Thank you.